Every day, almost 29 people in the United States die in alcohol-impaired vehicle crashes. That's one person every 50 minutes in 2016. Drunk driving fatalities have fallen by a third in the last 3 decades. However, drunk driving crashes claim more than 10,000 lives per year. In 2010, the most recent year for which cost data is available, these deaths and damages contributed to a cost of $44 billion per year. Alcohol is a substance abuse that reduces the function of the brain, impaired thinking, reasoning, and muscle coordination. All these abilities are essential to operating a vehicle safely. As alcohol levels rise in a person's system, the negative effects on the central nervous system increase too. Alcohol is absorbed directly through the walls of the stomach and small intestine. Then it passes into the bloodstream where it accumulates until it is metabolized by the liver. Alcohol level is measured by the weight of the alcohol in a certain volume of blood. This is called blood alcohol concentration. At a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 grams of alcohol per deciliter of blood, crash risk increases exponentially. Because of this risk, it is illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico to drive with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher. However, even a small amount of alcohol can affect driving ability. In 2016, there are 2,017 people killed in alcohol-related crashes where drivers had a lower alcohol blood level. Blood alcohol content is measured with a breathalyzer, a device that measures the amount of alcohol in a driver's breath, or by a blood test. Driving after drinking is deadly, yet it still continues to happen across the United States. If you drive while impaired, you could get arrested, or worse, be involved in a traffic crash that causes serious injury or death. Approximately 1/3 of all traffic crash fatalities in the United States involve drunk drivers. In 2016, there were 10,497 people killed in these preventable crashes. In fact, on average, over the 10-year period from 2006 to 2016, more than 10,000 people died every year in drunk driving crashes. In every state, it's illegal to drive with the BAC of 0.08 or higher, yet one person was killed in a drunk driving crash every 50 minutes in the United States in 2016. Men are more likely than women to be driving drunk in fatal crashes. In 2016, 21% of males were drunk in these crashes, compared to 14% for females. Car crashes are the leading cause of death for teens, and about a quarter of those crashes involve an underage drinking driver. In 2016, young drivers, 16 to 24 years old, made up 39% of drivers involved in fatal alcohol-impaired crashes. To reduce alcohol-related fatal crashes among youth, all states have adopted a minimum legal drinking age of 21. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that minimum drinking age laws have saved over 31,000 lives between 1975 and 2016. Young adults, aged 25 to 34, make up another 29% of fatal alcohol-impaired driving crashes. Men are most likely to be involved in this type of crash, with 4 male alcohol-impaired drivers for every female impaired driver. Motorcycle riders have the highest overall rate of alcohol impairment in fatal crashes. In 2016, 25% of the motorcycle riders killed were riding impaired. When it comes to drunk driving, it affects more than just the driver. In 2016, approximately 1 in 6 children, aged 14 and younger, died in drunk driving crashes. 54% of the time, it was the child's own driver who was drunk. In addition to the human toll drunk driving takes on our country, the financial part is devastating. Based on 2010 numbers, the most recent year for which cost data is available, impaired driving crashes cost the United States $44 billion annually. Driving a vehicle while impaired is a dangerous crime. Tough enforcement of drunk driving laws has been a major factor in reducing alcohol-impaired driving deaths since the 1980s. Charges range from misdemeanors to felony offenses, and penalties for impaired driving can include having your driver's license revoked, fines, and jail time. It is also extremely expensive. A first-time offense can cost the driver upwards of $10,000 in fines and legal fees. Some states require offenders to install ignition interlock devices at the driver's own expense. An ignition interlock device is a breath test device connected to a vehicle's ignition. The vehicle will not start unless the driver blows into the interlock and has a BAC below a preset low limit, usually 0.02. Being a responsible driver is simple. If you are drinking, do not drive. Before drinking, choose a non-drinking friend as a designated driver. Do not let your friends drive impaired. If you have been drinking, call a taxi or ride service, such as Lyft or Uber. A family member or friend are options too. If you're hosting a party where alcohol will be served, make sure all guests leave with a sober driver. Always wear your seatbelt. It's your best defense against impaired drivers.
On college campuses, there are about 1,825 deaths between the students of ages 18 and 24 due to alcohol consumption. Also, 696,000 students have been assaulted or sexually assaulted due to alcohol consumption. There are 1 in 4 college students who report academic problems due to alcohol consumption a year. College students have a higher rate of being binge drinkers at 39% for full-time students in 2013 and 33.4% for part-time students.
Only time will rid your body of alcohol. Caffeine in coffee will make you jittery, but it cannot keep you alert and restore judgment lost to alcohol consumption. Alcohol is alcohol. A 12-ounce beer has as much alcohol as a 1.5-ounce shot of whiskey or 5 ounces of wine. Many people who believe this drink more beer and become more intoxicated than if they had only consumed 1 or 2 shots of whiskey.
The first drink of alcohol begins to slow your motor skills, vision, and judgment. It is true that body size does figure in the rate alcohol affects you, but you must also consider individuals' metabolism, the amount of rest you had, and when you last ate. All of this makes for some very complex calculations regarding when you are safe to drive. I'll turn up the radio really loud. I'll splash cold water on my face. One more time. Alcohol is alcohol. Time is the only way to lower your body alcohol level. Cold wind or cold water in your face will not return your alertness, motor skills, or judgment. Drinking and driving is not safe at any speed. In fact, even driving too slowly will make you a traffic hazard and could cause a crash. How often do you drink?
Once every other weekend.
How many drinks do you consume?
It just depends.
Okay, at UCO we have a dry campus policy. What are your opinions on it?
Well, I've never broken it or anything. I feel like college students have kind of like outsmarted the system. They just have parties off campus.
Okay. Have you ever driven after drinking?
Yeah.
Do you know anyone else who has?
Yeah.
Was it a bad turnout or did they end up lucky?
They lived. They made it.
What do you think about how often and how much college students drink?
Well, we live up to our stereotype. I feel like everyone drinks, and if you say you don't drink, you're lying.
Why do you think college students drink?
Well, I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily like someone's coping system, but it's like their getaway. Like, let's get through the week, like power through it, and then go and have fun with our friends. So.
Do you think being in college gives people different perspectives on drinking and driving?
I think that when people are in college and they drink and drive, you're gonna make mistakes, and I feel like especially like college students, you have to like go through something to like learn from it. So I feel like maybe you can take away something from that.
Have you ever been in the car with someone who else was drinking?
Yes.
What actions can you take to prevent drinking and driving?
Well, you can always get like a DD, and then like UCO has Ubers, free Ubers or whatever. I feel like even if you party somewhere else that's not UCO, you can still get an Uber. I mean, it's not worth risking your life or other people's lives.
When was one of the first experiences that you had with drinking and driving?
Probably the first week of college. I was with a friend, and she was drinking some, and then we went out to drive, and we could have easily gotten in a wreck. Like, we had a lot of close calls, but anytime I would say something, she would get like aggressive with me, be like, "Why are you questioning my driving and stuff?" So I just kind of let it go.
Have you ever personally drinking and driven before?
Yeah, it was Halloween weekend, and I had a drink, and I was fine, so I had a couple more. And then I went to this house to pick up a friend, and the cops came, and by luck, I didn't get arrested for being underage, for drinking, or for driving. So, yeah.
How could the incident have been avoided or handled differently?
I could have not, first of all, drunk because I was underage, could have not driven, put others at risk and stuff.
If you were a passenger in one of the passenger's shoes, how would you have handled it?
I would have probably not put the driver in that position to, have to drive and be responsible for everyone.
If you were put back in that same moment, how would you have handled it differently?
Not drink and drive, probably not be in that position.
Do you think underage drinking and driving is a problem on college campuses?
Yeah, but I think it's just like the normal. Everyone does it. It's accepted. You just kind of don't think about it in the moment.
And lastly, what is your overall view on drinking and driving under the influence of alcohol or other drugs?
You definitely should not do it because you put others at risk, and you shouldn't be harming other people. It's not good.
Do you think that being in college gives people a different perception of drinking and driving?
Well, peer pressure is definitely a role in college from my personal experience. I've been to 2 colleges since I've started going after I graduated high school, and all of them, the known thing for college is to being able to drink and get crazy, which definitely makes you change your perspective on it, saying is, well, if my friends are going to do it and everyone's doing it and everyone's got to get home somehow, it must be just okay to do it.
Okay. Have you ever been in a car with somebody that's been drinking?
Definitely more times than I care to admit. Sometimes, especially if it's a friend that you trust a lot and they look at you and say, I'm all good, I have no reason to not trust him if I consider him a pretty close friend.
Okay. And what actions can you have taken to prevent that?
Well, of course I could have used an Uber, but, as a college student I don't have a lot of extra money to spend, which is what makes me end up choosing to drive if I've been drinking or ride with someone that has. But next time I would have a ride in advance. Hopefully maybe I know someone near or have a designated driver that is going to take the responsibility of keeping everyone safe and not consuming anything.
Okay.
Andrea, 21.
Okay. How often do you drink?
Almost every week.
Okay. How many drinks do you have when you do drink?
1 to 2.
Okay. On the UCO campus, we have a dry campus policy. What do you think about it?
I don't know. I understand why, but at the same time, we're college students, so what are they going to expect? So I think I'm a little both about it.
Okay, so you think it's kind of irrelevant to have it on this campus?
Yes.
Okay. How often have you broken our dry campus policy?
Twice.
Okay. Do you want to talk about them or no?
Yeah. I visited some friends here that live on campus and just kind of hung out in the dorm and had a couple of drinks and just hung out, but nothing major.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever been drunk and then went out driving?
No.
Have you known anybody who has?
Yes.
Okay. Was it a bad turnout or were they lucky?
They were fine, but still, they did it. So
What do you think about college kids and the rates of how much that they do end up drinking?
I mean, it's a lot that I know, but I don't really know what to say on that.
Like, do you think it's a bad thing, or do you kind of understand why college kids drink so much like they do?
I kind of understand why college students drink so much, but at the same time, like, they can't, like, college students can be moderate, like, you know, just not go overboard and drink so much.
Okay.
Do you drink alcohol?
No, I do not.
At UCO, we have a dry campus policy, meaning we can't have alcohol on campus. What are your opinions on that?
As a person that doesn't drink, that doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. Do you know anyone who has ever driven after drinking?
No, I do not.
That's really good for you. What do you think about how often and how much college students drink?
What do I think about how often college students drink?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Do you think it's unhealthy?
it has its side effects, of course. But I mean, I say if you can control how much you drink, then it should be fine.
Okay. Do you think that being in college can give people a different perception on drinking and driving? Like maybe they think it's acceptable because they're younger, or?
I mean, drinking and driving shouldn't be acceptable regardless of where you are, but I mean, what we see on TV and all that stuff, you see people, you see the media advertising drinking and driving.
Okay. What actions would you tell people to take to prevent drinking and driving?
Just think about what can happen between when you get in the car and when you get to your destination. What can happen. And you don't want to wake up the next day and regret. So don't drink and drive.
Thank you.
Yes.
How often do you drink?
Usually just depends. Whatever my friends. It's mostly an occasional drink. I don't just drink just for no reason, like parties or going out for occasions, stuff like that. Big time stuff.
I feel. How many drinks do you consume when you do
During
drink?
that time, it just depends. They keep coming, they keep coming. If not, then one or two usually does me pretty well while by myself.
At UCL, we have a dry campus policy. What are your opinions on it?
That I feel like it could go either way. I know some campuses do have successful non-dry campuses, so you could drink alcohol. Like I go to a lot of OU games for football season, and you tailgate, you drink, you have fun, you go in the game, and it's pretty cool doing that. But I also understand that there's certain outcomes that could happen if you do have a non-dry campus like that, and it could get bad. But I don't really have a certain side. It's good either way.
How often have you broke the policy, and can you elaborate?
I've never broken the policy, so I can't really elaborate.
Okay. Have you ever driven after drinking?
Personally, no.
No. Do you know anyone who has?
Yes. A couple of my friends have before.
Was it a bad turnout or was it lucky?
It's been lucky so far. I do know, not my personal friends have been unlucky, but I know situations that have been unlucky, yes.
Okay. Being a college student, do you think it gives a different perspective on them in that time period?
Yes and no. I mean, like I said, it can go either way with the dry and non-dry campuses. I mean, it can make it a good time, but some people do abuse it and it gets out of control sometimes.
Why do you think college students do this?
Because they're college students. They're too busy. They don't have nothing else to do on the weekends. They're trying to live it up and have fun on the weekends, and that's what you want to do. And sometimes it just gets out of control.
Have you ever been in a car with someone who has been drinking and driving?
Sadly, yes.
What actions can you take to prevent drinking and driving nowadays?
The Uber obviously is a great situation. They obviously make a lot of money off that because it helps out a lot. But that, or you can always call a friend and
coaches are always a good option. They're always looking out for you, stuff like that. Just people that are really close to you that really care about you are always going to come get you no matter what. So it's always a good call right there.
Thank you.